Video is gonna have a couple of firsts. It won't be the first time that I've just like read off of a product review guide because I don't know anything about the product, but it will be the first time that I'll have a juiced up edition phone. It will be the first time that I'll be showing off a fingerprint sensor under the screen of a commercial product, and it will be the first time that we have shot an entire video on a stabilized gimbal setup. Move it around, move it around. Whoa, look at that. It's like he's walking, man. Walk more, Brendan, you got this. And this video is brought to you by PIA. Private internet access features fast multi-gigabit VPN tunnel gateways worldwide. So if you're looking for a VPN, you can learn more about PIA through the link in the video description. So Vivo is a phone brand that we've never really checked out before in the past, but there are a couple of things about this guy that are actually pretty interesting. So first of all, this is the first phone that I've yet to get my hands on that has Qualcomm's new Snapdragon 660 AIE processor in it. So it's AI and like experience engine? It was engine. All right, so let's fire this up. It's running the FunTouch OS, which I think has to be the best name for an Android skin yet. And the first thing that you're gonna notice about this thing is that screen to bezel ratio. They have actually cracked the 90% barrier thanks to their use of a notch, which you can feel however you do or don't feel about it. It's a thing, it's not going away. And thanks to their use of an under-screen fingerprint sensor, which also lets you not have the fingerprint sensor on the back, which some people like, but I'm not personally a fan of. It's actually kind of amazing how few features you have to give up with like these more value-oriented phones now. Like it doesn't have wireless charging or anything, but it at least has NFC. That's just if I could find the antenna anywhere. Does it not? Connect it to the USB port. Nope. Apparently still a thing. No NFC. So this is it. This is the big moment. Add fingerprint, 4-digit password. Oh wow, they've got security questions? What was the name of your primary school? Butt Central Elementary. Whenever the fingerprint sensor is active, and it's under the screen right here, you can't see it pretty much at all. You're gonna have this this blue and greeny kind of light up. Better recognition with a slightly deeper press. Huh. Okay, well, it didn't get me that time. Okay. So it's pretty slow compared to some of the more modern, not under a screen fingerprint sensors that we've become used to. It's especially noticeable when you compare this to, shoot, what phone was that recently that I checked out? Where you could just swipe your finger down the sensor, right, the S9, and it would register the whole thing. This is pretty tedious. Wow, this thing is actually not that cheap. So rumored pricing is around 36,000 Indian rupees, which would make it about 540 US dollars. So it's not up there with like flagship phone pricing, but it's actually not that inexpensive. So here, this is our first chance to take a look at this functionality in action. You see that? The OLED screen lights up bright. That gives the sensor under the display enough illumination to read the identifying ridges on your finger. Here, let me try it again. So, oh, that's nice. So it's got an OLED display. So that means that it can have just the fingerprint pixels active. So you can actually wake the whole thing without pressing. That's not bad. You know what? Here, why don't we just do like a fingerprint sensor speed test? Let me grab a couple of other devices and, here. What do you want to start with? Do you want to start with like the other like Chinese brands, or should I start with like something kind of more flagshipy like the S9? Chinese brand? Okay. So here it is next to the Mi Mix 2S. Oh, how do I, the sensors are on either side. Okay, you guys are gonna have to take my word for it. I'm pressing it at the same time. 1, 2, 3, go! Not bad. That's not far off. All right, Pixel 2 XL. Faster, but not worlds faster. Like, we're not talking iPhone 6 here. Is this embargoed? I actually don't know. Put that there. Mate 10 Pro. Galaxy S9. iPhone 10. My Face ID is broken, so. No fingerprint sensor, why did they take it off? Right, because they didn't have, apparently, the technology that Vivo has. I should do a video where I try and get Apple to fix it. Get started. Face ID is not available. Trying it later doesn't work, by the way. So like any modern phone, one of the big features is the camera. So I'm just gonna be testing the stabilization while I walk down the stairs, and I'm also giving you guys a look at the stabilized rig that Brandon's using to shoot this. I don't know if I'm at the bottom yet. How close am I?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm at the bottom. Got this. So I've got an iPhone 10 compared to the Vivo X21 here. Hi, Taryn.
I'm lacking stability with this door.
Oh, the iPhone 10 handles that backlight a lot better in spite of the AI camera features.
Whoa.
It's not helpful, but thank you anyway. So I actually really like taking test pictures here because you've got these really bright colors, you've got this nice blue sky, and then you've got these hard shadows. And that's something that even with HDR is quite difficult for smartphone cameras to handle. So now I want to see how it handles lower light. I mean, that really is the main difference for cell phone cameras these days, is how they handle processing the image as opposed to the sensors really getting a lot better generation by generation. Hey, Faye. It just crashed. Huh, I never thought I was gonna capture that on camera. Since after I've done my review, I have had a few just random hard resets like that. And I asked Samsung about it and they were like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. So this thing's got all kinds of tech that you might not expect on sort of a mainstream performance phone. And it uses micro USB. What year is it? Does it have wireless charging? I guess I could consult my doodad here. So the glass back is for looks and for feel. And it actually does look and feel pretty good. It was not to enable wireless charging anyway. Oh man, that in-screen unlock, that is so cool. I gotta give them credit. The specs to price ratio, pretty impressive if that's correct, because it's got 128 gigs of storage, so you can take a lot of those photos, and 6 gigs of RAM. So overall impressions here are decent. Like obviously it captured the image, but it lost a lot of detail in the darkest parts of the scene here that was retained by all of the other cameras. Even if Xiaomi didn't do a great job of their color science here, you can tell these greens are like, these are like neon bushes. And then as for low light, the Pixel 2 XL and the S9 Plus were the ones that got the color closest. And then the iPhone 10, the Mi Mix 2S, and the Vivo X21 all kind of went all yellow and have a lot of processing and noise artifacts. Yeah, the X21 was the worst in the low light scenario. And the construction doesn't really stand out either. It's well balanced in the hand, I've got to give them credit for that. And this curved glass back actually both looks and feels better in person than the camera's probably capturing. But I do have to say the way that they've joined the front panel assembly here to the rear casing is pretty last gen. You can see a very noticeable ridge between them. With all of that said though, the screen looks fantastic. It really does feel like a giant display floating in your hand. The cost is very reasonable. They ship it with an included screen protector, and lo and behold, they weren't able to make it waterproof, obviously. That's not anywhere in the rating, but it's got a headphone jack. So for the price, I'm actually liking this thing a lot, even though this was far from an in-depth review. I've yet to see where they're going with the whole AI processor aspect of it. It's supposed to optimize both battery life in terms of giving less resources to stuff that you don't care about and more to stuff that you do, as well as helping with the camera. But that's something that's gonna take time to continue to develop.
For $2,500, it wasn't giving us the audio quality we expected. So when
On the subject of audio quality that I might expect,
Alexa, we were really excited to find
the speakers on this do leave a lot to be desired.
synchronizing audio in post is fine for feature films, but it's a nightmare for our...
They get loud, so that's not bad, but I've actually come to expect now a powered secondary speaker up here so you get a little bit of stereo effect at the very least. Man, that screen looks good though. I love ultra wide displays, which is why it's all the more a mystery why this isn't stretching to the edges. I'm gonna have to find something else for that. Man, this display looks good for like a value phone though. Isn't that crazy? It's even got P3 color space support. On the subject of things that are a great value, Ting! Ting is the mobile carrier that's focused on customer service and customer satisfaction. And with Ting, you don't have to pay for more than the airtime that you use. All you gotta do is go to linus.ting.com. We're gonna have that linked in the video description. You enter your last few bills and how much you paid for them, and it will spit out how much money you would save on Ting. The average Ting bill is just 23 bucks a month per device. Ting has a program where if you're stuck in a contract and you want to switch to them, they'll pay 25% of your cancellation fee up to 75 bucks, and just by using our link, you can get 25 bucks towards your service or towards a new device. So go check them out. That's linus.ting.com. So thanks for watching, guys. If you disliked this video, you can hit that button, but if you liked it, hit like, get subscribed, maybe consider checking out where to buy the stuff we featured at the link in the video description. Also down there is our merch store, which has cool shirts like this one, and our community forum, which you should totally join. You know, as far as Android skins go, this is far from the worst that I've seen. I actually really like the pull-up tray that they got going on here. It's kind of iOS-y other than the iPhone XI. This is a look at my morning with the Samsung Galaxy S9. I wake up, second time on my always on OLED display, and hit the snooze button, just like I did with my S8. I eat breakfast and read the news, silently appreciating the tall 18.5:9 aspect ratio, just like I did with my S8. I grab my keys and jacket and ask Bixby what my schedule for the day. oh man, no, I'm just kidding about that last one. But seriously, as someone who legitimately loves the Galaxy S8, what exactly do the S9 and the S9 Plus, apparent carbon copies of the last gen, really change? And does any of it matter? Let's find out. After I tell you, today's video is brought to you by Zotac. Zotac's Mech 1 gaming PC is an ultra slim desktop PC featuring a sleek, robotic style design. Check it out at the link below to learn more. Okay, so here are the improvements to the S9 family on paper. You get a faster octa-core processor of the Snapdragon or Exynos variety, depending on your region, some more memory, but only on the Plus, a brighter screen, a bump to maximum cellular data rates, and a camera with two aperture sizes, and then all of this other stuff is basically the same, with some of it, like thickness, appearing to get worse. So this means, by my calculations here, the days of big generational improvements to cell phones, these are officially over. However, unlike a lot of the tech press, I am not going to crucify Samsung over this. The S8 and the S8 Plus are a year old now and still competitive with much newer devices like the 5T from no longer that budget brand OnePlus, even if the Pixel 2 and the iPhone 10 have edged them out in DxOMark. And besides, while the improvements are small, a lot of them are pretty meaningful. So in order of importance to me personally, 1, the audio setup is great. And I'm sure there are discerning audiophiles out there who take exception to Samsung's choice of DAC. But as far as I'm concerned, the retention of the headphone jack at all, and the inclusion of an amplified earphone speaker that gives me stereo sound on the better than ever OLED super wide display make the S9, and especially the Plus variant, the ideal movie watching phones, period. Second, and this is a close second, is the camera. Even if, in practical terms, the difference between f1.5 and f2.4 physical apertures is less than it sounds like. With how wide the main shooter's lens is, you're not gonna suddenly see like a huge difference in true bokeh past, 6 inches away like you would on a real DSLR. You're still relying on software selective focus on the S9 and dual capture with processing on the S9 Plus, which is better than this one, but still has issues. With that said, it is still more than a full stop, meaning that at 1.5, a lot more light hits the sensor physically, while at 2.4, the image should be sharper, letting Samsung, in theory, have their cake and eat it too. Now, subjectively, the Pixel 2 XL's color processing looks more true to life to me. Here, and well, in most situations. But this is a characteristic of the Samsung camera experience that I've mostly come to accept, especially if I get something worthwhile back in exchange. And I do. This challenging high contrast shot in direct sunlight reveals that 1, modern phone cameras are getting really good across the board, and 2, that when we do pixel peep, the S9, whether you love or hate their more aggressive sharpening filter, captures more detail. And in this shot of my cat sleeping next to me in bed, the iPhone 10 holds up reasonably well, but the Pixel 2 gets curb stomped. I mean, for some of you, this is probably a meaningless edge case, but I'm not a wannabe photographer. I just like capturing cute pictures when I'm spending time with my kids, and because I live in Raincouver, 6 months out of the year, that takes place inside my house, a perpetually dim environment thanks to my dark floors. So it makes a really big difference to me. Moving on to the fingerprint sensor location, this never really bothered me on the S8. However, on the S8 Plus and on the Note 8, next to the camera up there, is basically unusable with my small hands. So the S9 Plus is an enormous improvement. Then, the last big one for me is the structural changes that Samsung has made under the hood. The new phones are made of more durable aluminum with thicker glass, giving them spectacular rigidity. Other than a dbrand skin, I prefer no protection, and so it's comforting to know that my chances of surviving a drop are better. But some trade-offs were made here. The increase in weight won't be noticeable to any but the daintiest users, but in spite of a thickness jump, the battery capacity of both models is unchanged from last year. Now, Samsung has been quoted as saying that their 8-point battery check will give the S9 family 95% of their day one battery life after 2 years. And if that holds true, then that's swell, or not, as it were. But as a heavy user, the S8 had middling battery life from the get-go once all my stuff was installed.
So I'm on the Pixel 2 XL. My Galaxy S8, something I have installed on it is making the battery drain really fast. I haven't had the time to deal with it.
As much as I love the form factor, I just couldn't keep using it. So, my new daily driver is gonna have to be the S9 Plus then. And that's about it. Pretty much every other complaint that I have about this phone is either in software or has a simple solution, like the Bixby button. Nothing personal against Bixby. She can actually do some really cool stuff that it baffles me that Google Assistant and Siri can't do. You can actually do much more advanced things like this. Go to the home screen, boom. But the placement of this button directly opposite the lock button was, and still is, an ergonomic disaster. However, Samsung supports disabling it outright, and you can use third-party software to remap it now. Intelligent Scan, where the phone chooses iris or facial recognition, depending on the scenario, isn't as consistent as Face ID, but it doesn't have to be, because they didn't pull off the fingerprint reader. You can just use whatever you want, which honestly for me is like, okay, look, here. Did you know that the S9 has 9 different ways to take a selfie? Now, most of them are weird gimmicks that I never used, and neither will you. But I guess that's the Samsung experience in a nutshell. Packed full of features, some of which are seemingly random. Like, do you guys remember that thing they were doing where the screen would scroll with your eyes? And then this year's half-baked inclusion is a crude ripoff of Animojis, but with lots of things that are great. Panorama selfies, so that I can fit all of my friends in the frame? Awesome. Faster fingerprint registration with a swipe. Well, it doesn't come up very often, but heck yeah. Landscape mode on the home screen, like a tablet? Why did that take so long? Launching 2 apps in split screen from a single button? Sure, why not? Well, okay, actually, I can think of one reason why not. So that you could have your software team spending more time maintaining the latest software on your existing devices instead of creating fluff that no one asked for. The S7 is still in the testing phase for Android 8.0 Oreo. Just 1 year ago, that was Samsung's flagship phone. Think about that. So, the S9 looks solid, especially at the unlocked price, and the S9 Plus gets a straight up recommendation to buy. I would take it over the more expensive Note 8 for sure, but with the caveat that until Samsung makes a real commitment to support, at the very least, its flagship devices the way that Apple does, I can only unequivocally recommend them to people who upgrade every couple of years. And they're never gonna truly stand out from other Android manufacturers until they address this, which, given the way that they're catching up in key areas like camera image quality, means that Samsung, you guys gotta be paying attention, because the window is closing on finding a new way to differentiate. Speaking of differentiating, wanna differentiate your phone with an awesome dbrand skin? dbrand is your source for awesome vinyl skins available for laptops, phones, tablets, consoles, controllers, and more. They use high quality, authentic, true textured 3M vinyl on every product. They feature unrivaled precision, measure many times, cut once philosophy means that the factory fit for your product will be perfect. And not only do dbrand skins look great, they protect against damage and scratches too. Their customer service robots are easy to work with, and their fantastic product selector lets you see exactly what your product will look like before you order. They're affordable, they ship worldwide, and you can check them out at the link below. So thanks for watching, guys. If this video sucked, you know what to do. But if it was awesome, get subscribed, hit that like button. Let us know in the comments what you think of this slightly different format, or if you even noticed. Check out the link to where to buy the stuff we featured in the video description. Also linked down there is our merch store, which has cool shirts like this one, and our community forum, which you should totally join. Kinda messed up my outro there. That's okay. I don't think anyone cares. Is anyone still watching at this point? Okay, feel good. So we still have the green screen and the Yeah, I know. My video's late because I didn't get an iPhone 10 until dbrand actually bought one, skinned it, and shipped it to me. But unlike some people, I'm not gonna make a big salty song and dance out of it, because frankly, if I was Apple, I probably wouldn't feel like spending the $1,000 or even $370 to hear what I'm about to say about their latest and greatest either. Especially in front of their store, which is under renovation. I wanted to do this in front of the Cube. Today's video is brought to you by Mack Weldon. I was gonna wear the shirt, but it's so cold. Mack Weldon believes in smart design, premium fabrics, and simple shopping. Use Octacode Tech Tips at the link below to get 20% off on your next order. Now, if the iPhone 8 and the 8 Plus are fraternal twins, then the 10 is kind of like the love child from that brief but intense affair that everyone knows mom had, but that no one talks about unless Uncle Gordon's had too much to drink. Apple reused almost every major internal component, making the 10, with its beefy battery, 3 gigs of RAM, and dual rear camera system, something familiar, kind of like a Plus in a regular sized body, and yet something totally different because, as iFixit revealed in their fantastic teardown, to achieve this spectacular density, they actually went back to a technique so old we haven't seen it since the original iPhone, a dual PCB internal layout that in another creative move uses dual lithium-ion batteries for maximum density. But while in some ways physically the 10 is what I've been asking Apple for years, less concerned with reducing thickness and weight and more with increasing battery life and features like wireless charging, this comes at the cost of it feeling, well, kind of heavy and thick. To be clear, I still vastly prefer the form factor of the 10 compared to the 8 Plus. Its size makes it much easier to hold on to, even if its slim bezels mean an accidental drop is more likely to be fatal. It's just that the slight increase in unwieldyiness compared to the 8 is compounded by the 10's unfamiliar new gesture-based controls. Before I get to those though, let's talk about the screen. I am sorely disappointed that my 120 Hz prediction didn't come true. But otherwise, it's everything that you could hope for from a top-of-the-line phone in 2017. Apple took the best mobile OLED screen technology on the market from Samsung and tuned it to damn near perfection. It's the brightest OLED I've ever seen, making for the best direct sunlight viewing experience that I've seen yet, and the best rendering of HDR content that I've seen yet. And the ultra tall, or ultra wide, depending on how you look at it, aspect ratio, combined with the stereo bottom firing and earpiece speaker combo, makes it great for watching cinema aspect ratio content like movie, is what I would say if it weren't for the notch. Whoa. Now, for the vast majority of the content that you'll find on YouTube or Netflix, it and the rounded bottom corners will end up cut off by pillar boxes. But in movies, it is a literal black mark on what is otherwise the standard by which mobile displays can be measured. And while it's far less obnoxious, I did also notice it in day-to-day use. A lot of people might not care about something like this, but there's no room at the top anymore for your battery percent or your VPN connectivity status, requiring a swipe down from the top right to bring up the control center. Blah. So what do we get in return then? In tech enthusiast terms, we get a marvelously densely packed, not to mention incredibly sophisticated array of sensors, emitters, and cameras that had me hardcore nerding out. But everyone else just calls it Face ID. Without getting into the theoretically reduced security, I mean, no one that I know was able to unlock my phone. Here's what it does really well. Downloading apps, buying stuff, or logging into websites is, in a word, amazing. It worked nearly flawlessly across all manner of challenging conditions, from cold days where you don't feel like taking off your gloves to touch, to bright sunlight, to pitch blackness, and even with a kid in my arms or a toothbrush hanging out of my mouth. And the feature that hides the details of your notifications until it recognizes you is a biometric authentication game changer. Okay, cool. Now here's what's less awesome. Because the 10 only auto-wakes when it's right side up and has no obvious landmarks when the screen is off, like an always-on clock, for example, and because it requires a swipe after it identifies you, I often found that it took me longer to unlock the 10 when I wanted to use my phone. Face ID, to be clear, is much better than Samsung's Iris scanner across the board, but it still requires a special dance move to do something on your phone while it's sitting on the desk or table next to you, And back to that notification hiding thing, I really wish that it was a little bit faster. Like, I've been using my old iPhone 6 as an MP3 player lately, and man, I forgot how much worse first-gen Touch ID was and how much better fast biometrics are compared to just having them at all. All right, fine then, Apple. A notch in the display for unlocking with wet hands. Okay, I can wait a little longer for you to put all this stuff behind the panel. And besides, the notch actually bothered me far less than the interface and navigation changes that were necessitated by the 10's lack of a home button. All the new gestures are easy to remember and felt natural within minutes, to the point where I actually found myself swiping up on other devices. But multiple aspects of the new control scheme are marginally slower, reinforcing my belief that Apple is either run by or caters to people who just don't have a lot to do. These people, I assume, have all the time in the world to type names into their address book like a cave person instead of using T9 dialing, interact with their touchscreen, however little it might be, to quick launch their camera instead of double tapping a hardware button. They have time to pause mid-gesture to wait for multitasking to show up instead of pressing one button, though the slide to the right is quite a bit better. They have time to hold, then swipe or reach to the top of the screen to force close a frozen app. And finally, and yes, I'm repeating this one, they don't mind swiping their screen every time they unlock their phone. Now, I'm not saying that Apple did nothing right here. Control Center from the top right is much more reliable now that it no longer gets confused by the on-screen keyboard. And on that subject, the dictation button under the on-screen keyboard is super convenient, which, wait a second, under the keyboard? Ha! Leave it to Apple to figure out the most obvious stuff that everyone else missed. I've been complaining for years that on devices with small chin bars, it's harder to touch type. And they just went and put a space in there. Brilliant. Anyway, in fairness to Apple, the navigation isn't terrible. It's just also not as advertised. It's not like a quantum leap forward in the way that I interact with my phone. And if anything, it makes me miss the Android back button even more than I normally do on iOS, not less. Now, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on the camera or Animojis, other than to say that if you like the excellent 8 Plus camera, and if you're a portrait mode focus scene, you'll like the 10's camera. And that until Apple allows Animojis to be recorded and sent as video clips in third-party chat apps easily, I will be even less inclined to create awkward moments in public than I already am. So that brings me then to my conclusion. The original iPhone was first-gen execution of a brilliant idea. And the device that was created to celebrate its 10-year anniversary is brilliant execution of what feels like a first-gen idea. It really seems to me like Apple was trying really hard to make an innovative device, then make you like whatever they ended up with, rather than looking forward to what people wanted to do in their lives and building a solution around that. An approach that probably would have involved some more investment in Siri. So bottom line then, the iPhone 10 is what it took to make me more excited about the 8 and the 8 Plus, and ultimately go back to the S8 so that I can stop carrying around this stupid bag of headphone dongles. So this video was brought to you by the D-brand grip. My mom is so present. Never drop your phone again. Its key features include their revolutionary grip, their world-class D3O shock-absorbing technology, an industry-first carbon composite frame, full D-brand skin compatibility so you can customize it still however you want using the D-brand site, and finally, ultra-tactile buttons. I don't know quite how they did it, but they managed to make the buttons on your phone feel better for having their case on it. So check it out down at the link in the video description. So thanks for watching, guys. If this video sucked, you know what to do. But if it was awesome, get subscribed, hit that like button, or check out the link to where to buy the stuff we featured in the video description. Also down there is our merch store, which has cool shirts like the one that I'm bundled up over top of, and our community forum, which you should totally join. Luke loves his Pixel XL, but the issue with the original Pixel for me was that while I did end up using it for a couple of months, it was a bit of a one-trick pony, an expensive one at that. And a good camera, or even a great camera, is not enough for me. I need a phone that knows what I want, a phone that shares my interests, a phone that I can't wait to greet at the end of the day with a great big hug. Or, failing that, a little squeeze. I also need sponsors like Intel who keep this show going. CyberPower PC's lineup of gaming desktops feature Intel 7th generation Core i7 processors. Check them out at the link below.
These are the top results.
Yeah. In some ways, Google launched two different sizes of the same phone. Both the Pixel 2 and the Pixel 2 XL feature basically the same internal specs, with the main difference being the amped up battery on the larger model to power the larger screen. And I was both surprised and pleased to find out during the October 4th event that both phones even get the same optical and electronic image stabilization and portrait mode camera features, a move that is much appreciated by those of us with both small hands and precious moments to capture. But pretty much any flagship Android phone these days has the same internal specs, including the Galaxy S8 that launched 6 months ago. So we have to look a little closer to see that while they are clearly related, they are also as different as I am from my siblings. They both still sport a rear-mounted fingerprint sensor, satisfyingly clicky lock buttons, a 12.2 megapixel single rear camera, and the partial glass-backed design that debuted on the original Pixel, but is somehow much more refined looking this time around. But then, when we flip them over, they're like nothing alike. It's almost like they were made by completely different contract manufacturers with different capabilities. So the Pixel 2 is lightweight with squared off edges, making it easy to handle, but a little chunky looking with larger top and bottom bezels to make room for stereo speakers and I guess the rest of the basically no compromises internals. The XL, by contrast, is the far more 2017 looking of the two devices. Little changes like the seamless transition from the body to the sexier curved glass and wider gamut, not to mention much higher resolution display, wouldn't really bother me as a Pixel 2 buyer, but the taller aspect ratio of the display makes the handling of the devices very different in day-to-day use. The Pixel puts less strain on your thumbs to reach the spacebar while you're typing, while the XL uses its extra screen height to compensate for the space lost to the on-screen buttons. By comparison, it also fits a lot more content on the screen at a time. Though it should be noted that both of them lose out to the Galaxy S8 and the Note 8 in this regard. And this affects media playback in a big way too. If you're a movie watcher, buy the XL2, period. Surprisingly, they both managed to pack similar and impressive sounding stereo front-facing speakers. Like seriously, HTC boom sound lovers, y'all got something to upgrade to, finally. But while 6-inch versus 5-inch doesn't sound like that big of a deal, the Pixel wastes far more of its screen real estate in ultra-wide content. So think about how much bigger a 50-inch TV looks compared to a 40-inch TV. That is the difference. On to day-to-day usability. Once I added a specifically compatible, though thankfully inexpensive, Type-C to 3.5mm adapter to my headphone pouch, the Pixel 2 and the 2 XL they're just a pleasure to use. Gone is the stress about incidental water splashes from last gen, and I gotta say, while I had no pressing desire for a squeezable phone,
How tall is Linus Sebastian?
I really like it as a super natural way to bring up the Google Assistant. To the point where I even found myself just using the Google Assistant a lot more than I have in the past. Now, you'll hit it by accident a fair bit at first, just trying to pick your phone up off the table or put it into your pocket, but the sensitivity has a wide adjustment range, so if you're not the kind of person whose voice saying, "Okay Google," would take about 3 minutes to capture and steal, "Okay Google, okay Google, okay Google," and you're comfortable with the reduced security of a voice recognition unlock, man, there are a lot of fast ways to get things done. Okay Google, assuming of course that what you want to get done isn't that complicated. The thing for me is that the more that these digital assistants can do, the more obvious it becomes what they cannot do. So I can open Google Docs, handy, but I can't then open a specific document or start dictating without touching my phone. I can search for Drive Badminton Center, and I can navigate there. But then I can't add a stop at an A&W on my way without touching my phone while I'm in the car. And it's stuff like this that makes the whole exercise feel a little pointless. I mean, no, not pointless, that's not fair, but definitely incomplete. I mean, I can see how folks who just want to perform discrete, singular tasks like turn off the light or play that song that I like would be really happy with the current state of things. But for some reason, a lot of what I end up wanting to do is going to result in me entering it manually at some point anyway. And if that's the case, it's usually faster to just do it myself correctly the first time, rather than relying on what is much better but still imperfect voice recognition. A perfect example is that it recorded this as imperfect instead of imperfect, and the screen turned off while I was finishing the recording because I've been talking for a minute. Sigh. And of course I meant sigh, not that sigh. The good news is that even if you don't give a crap about Google Assistant, Android Oreo has plenty to love. In no particular order, here are a few things that made my life better versus the iPhone 8 and the Galaxy S8. Upcoming events at the top of the home screen, super nice to have. Holding Task Switcher to run multiple apps on screen. Doesn't work with Netflix, boo, but with supported apps, it's faster, smoother, and more intuitive for multitaskers than ever before. Being able to snooze notifications is a godsend for busy people like me, so finally, there is a middle ground between dismissing them and forgetting about them, and having them just pile up. And better management of background app power usage makes the Pixel 2 behave very nicely for a phone with only a 2700 mAh battery. I have gripes still though. Google allows bootloader unlocking, but I shouldn't need to load a custom ROM to do something as simple as swapping the on-screen nav buttons. And this suggestion that I found on Reddit was even more annoying than reaching all the way over for back. And while we're at it, I capture, mark up, and send out a lot of screenshots. And stock Android screenshot management sucks compared to iOS 11 and third-party variants of Android. Bringing us to the camera. Even though it lacks a few shooting modes compared to its competitors, like 60 FPS 4K or ultra-high frame rate slow-mo, it's great. But, don't take my word for it, here's our resident camera guru, Brandon, to tell you guys how the front-facing camera is okay if you turn off the tier facial processing, and the back shooter is great, and you're gonna love it.
The front-facing camera is okay if you turn off the tier face retouching, and the rear camera is great.
That's it? I mean, could you do a follow-up video next week maybe, comparing the Pixel 2 to the iPhone 8 and the Note 8 or something?
I guess.
Okay, well great then. So, bottom line, should you buy? It's actually kind of hard to evaluate, especially the Pixel 2 XL, in the absence of its true competitor, the iPhone 10. But Squeeze changed the game a lot more for me than I thought, even if almost everything else about it, especially the absence of wireless charging, still feels like the Nexus to Pixel price hike was a bit of a kick in the balls. So I like the design much better than the super boring iPhone 8, but iOS 11 and 3D Touch are great. So is Face ID better than Squeeze and Google Assistant? How about the camera on the 10? These are all questions that need answers. Unless, of course, you're a diehard Android user and you were never gonna consider the dark side anyway. So for you guys, the Pixel 2 XL gets a strong recommendation, with the 2 just behind it due to its fat bezeled and last gen 16:9 screen. So yeah, you probably already knew this, but these are the Android phones to have right now. Assuming, of course, that you're a great big baller. Speaking of being a great big baller, why not look like a baller with a dbrand skin on your phone? Dbrand is your source for awesome vinyl skins, and they've got them for laptops, phones, tablets, consoles, controllers, and more. They use high quality, authentic, true textured 3M vinyl on every product, and their skins are cut with unrivaled precision. So use their configurator. See what your product's gonna look like. You could go with the Panda or the reverse Panda for your Pixel 2, even if you can't get one. And not only that, but you get a little bit of protection against incidental scuffs and scratches. They ship worldwide, they've got great customer service, and you can check them out at the link below. So thanks for watching, guys. If you disliked this video, you can hit that button, but if you liked it, hit like, get subscribed, maybe consider checking out where to buy the stuff we featured at the links in the video description. Also down there, we've got our merch store, which has cool shirts like this one, and our community forum, which you should totally join.
Smartphone manufacturers have been telling us for years that thanks to features like portrait mode, they are good enough to replace a standalone camera. Well, I think that is a load of crap, but I do realize that even if I gave out these stylish belt holsters for free, convincing everyone they should carry around a proper camera like my Fuji X-T2 is an uphill battle. So since you guys are going to use whatever's already in your pocket, I guess I need to spend some time figuring out which one of these is closest to good enough. And speaking of good, Zotac Magnus EN1070 Mini Gaming PC comes VR and AAA game ready. Check it out in the link in the video description. I want to start off by saying what this video is not. It's not a scientific analysis, it doesn't cover every aspect of the performance of every one of these phones, and I didn't even touch on video. And it is not even representative of the best work I could do with them as an imaging professional. What it is a collection of my thoughts from using these cameras in a wide variety of different scenarios, as most people would use them. No third-party apps, full auto mode with tap for metering and focus as my only manual controls. And yes, before all of you go storming into the comment section, I know the V30 has a very flexible manual mode within their camera app. However, with enough time and tweaking in manual settings, nearly any camera can look great. And what I wanted to see here was an average user's use case for a camera on their phone in auto mode. We also chose to include the iPhone 8 Plus in this roundup instead of the iPhone 10 because our 10 had unfortunately not arrived yet during the making of this video. Let's start by tackling color. In the first shot with the pink flower, the Note 8 and the V30 are both boosting saturation significantly, with the Pixel 2 and the iPhone 8 Plus both leaning more neutral and the Pixel 2 being the least saturated of the bunch. Overall, the Note 8 captured what most people would probably describe as the most pleasing image without editing, but the iPhone wins with the most true-to-life representation of color. In this second set of images, the iPhone 8 and the V30 both went for a slightly warmer white balance on a bluish overcast day, while surprisingly the Note 8 has a cooler, more neutral white balance, with the Pixel 2 being again the most neutral and desaturated of the four. Here the V30 gives the sky and the white part of the wall art a greenish tint, while the Note 8 and the Pixel 2 gave fairly similar results, though I give the edge to the Pixel 2 thanks to its more balanced exposure and color saturation and truer to life color reproduction. Then the iPhone 8 by comparison looks like someone intentionally desaturated the image. Color-wise, it's hard to declare a clear winner that's head and shoulders above the rest, but we do have a loser, the LG V30. Then if pressed, I would say the Pixel 2 comes out on top thanks to its consistent delivery of true-to-life color, followed closely by the iPhone. Then if you prefer a more saturated look, the Note 8 performed admirably here. Let's compare dynamic range and overall detail. This image was taken from under the Vancouver Convention Center with HDR disabled. We are evaluating the sensor here, not software stitching sophistication. What separates the men from the boys here is the detail in the bottom of the overhang. It registers black on the V30 with the iPhone 8 and the Note 8 picking up the roof's structural supports, but only the Pixel 2 shows what they're made of: wood. Zooming in for a closer look, the iPhone 8 Plus gets the edge in overall detail, but Apple's denoising looks subjectively worse than Google or Samsung's. To LG's credit, the image has almost no noise, but it also contains almost no detail, and an overall aggressive post-processing sharpening effect. This shot of downtown Vancouver confirmed a trend coming with each camera. The V30 and the Note 8, on top of adding much more sharpening in their processing, also both tend to underexpose the image, with the V30 being the more aggressive of the two. Looking at the detail in the bottom of the stairs here, it registers nearly black on the V30's image, with the Note 8 faring better overall, but still underexposing compared to the iPhone and the Pixel 2. The iPhone image here, while brighter and holding more detail in the bottom of the stairs, also has some noisy artifacts under the stairway. The Pixel 2 strikes a good balance in overall exposure and contrast. It doesn't retain as much detail as the Note 8 under the stairs, but the rest of the image in the Pixel 2 shot has more neutral and true-to-life colors. Let's look at low light. In this test image, the V30 turns in the worst performance by far, not even registering the tree behind the lamppost. Then things get a little interesting. The images from both the iPhone and Note cameras seem to have compensated for the greenish hue of the park lighting, while the Pixel 2 did not. Not everyone will appreciate Google's approach here. Linus preferred the artificial compensation and better detail rendition in the tree in the iPhone image, but from a technical standpoint, the Pixel 2 lost less detail in the highlights and once again was more true to life. I prefer Google's interpretation of this scene. This shot of a pile of tree branches shows again that the V30 just doesn't compare to the other phones in this roundup. The Pixel 2 and the iPhone both have a similar overall exposure, but the iPhone's cleaner blacks are quite noticeable in the sky. Then the Note 8 pulls off surprisingly good performance here. They're a touch over sharpened, but there's a lot of detail in those branches. I found the iPhone image most pleasing, but once again, the Pixel 2 was the closest to actually being there. I'm going to get into portrait mode next, but first I want to talk about a couple of things we've seen so far. As I mentioned before, the V30 tends to heavily underexpose the image of the same scene compared to the Pixel 2 and the iPhone, with the Note 8 only going about half as far typically. And it's also pretty clear that both LG and Samsung bump up the saturation of their cameras to deliver what they consider to be more pleasing photos, at the cost of some accuracy. But the biggest trend that stood out to me was the iPhone's inconsistent metering of exposure. Take this low light HDR shot of the LMG Studio, for example. The Note 8, Pixel 2 XL, and even the V30 all outperformed the iPhone in terms of holding detail in both the sky and our office building in the foreground. The iPhone, in nearly every comparison I did, tended to be the brightest image of the four, sometimes to its detriment. In a quick studio test, I shot the photo with the iPhone last, and no matter where I tried to meter the image, I couldn't get the exposure correct without manually compensating in the iPhone's app. And surprisingly, changing the model didn't help us get any more usable. As someone who uses manual camera controls literally every day, I'm not saying this is an unreasonable burden, it's just that every other camera in the roundup managed to do it better. Now let's get into portrait mode. The V30 doesn't have one at this time, so I subbed it out for the X-T2 to act as a reference point for how close we're getting to a $2,000 investment into dedicated hardware. This first shot shows while the Note 8's dynamic range really falls apart in their live focus portrait mode, they did a reasonably good job of blurring the background, but cropping in on Max's face, the image is pretty soft and noise is heavy. The iPhone outdid the Note 8 pretty handily, doing a great job with its artificial bokeh effect and retaining more detail when we zoom in. The Pixel 2 fared best in overall exposure and detail, but Google's algorithmic single lens processing technique completely missed the mark on its depth map, leaving out the blur effect on the majority of the right of the image. This second shot has the Note 8 coming out really soft in the detail of the image with a huge loss of information in the highlights. The iPhone performed better but still feels soft overall, with the Pixel 2 missing its blur effect on the bench here, but otherwise really impressing with its overall exposure and sharpness. As a bonus, it had the most accurate color to my eye. This third shot in a field shows yet again that the Note 8 really can't hold up against the Pixel 2 and the iPhone. With its portrait mode, the sky is completely blown out with Max's skin starting to lose detail in the highlights. Again, the Pixel 2 struggles here to blur both sides of the image, with the iPhone doing a slightly better job there, but cropping into the center of the image, it's clear that the Pixel 2 handles detail and noise much better than the iPhone does, even though the depth mapping failed on this shot. So, conclusion time. The Pixel 2, while not the best in every situation, it never came in third place, making it the most consistent at producing an image that, with some editing or Instagram filters, would likely please anyone using it. The iPhone has the clear edge when it comes to believable fake blurred backgrounds and was close to the Pixel 2 in basically every other way, and I'm awarding it second place unless you're a portrait mode fanatic. But I don't want to make it seem like the Note 8 has a bad camera. It doesn't. Google, Apple, and Samsung have all done a fantastic job this generation. As for the V30, what can I say? We love the folks at LG, they're very nice people. But at this price, their camera leaves a lot to be desired. But you know who doesn't leave a lot to be desired? FreshBooks. FreshBooks is the small business accounting software that's custom built for how you want to work. It allows you to be more productive, organized, and helps you get paid quickly. Create and send professional looking invoices in less than 30 seconds, set up online payments with a couple of clicks, and get paid up to 4 days faster. See when your client has seen your invoice and put an end to the guessing games. For your unrestricted 30-day free trial, just head over to freshbooks.com/tech tips and enter in Linus Tech Tips in the How Do You Hear About Us section. So thank you guys for watching. If this video sucked, you know what to do, but if it was awesome, get subscribed, hit that like button, or check out the link to where to buy the stuff we featured in this video in the description. Also linked in the description is our merch store, which has cool shirts not like this one, and our forum, which you should totally join.
Hey, what is up guys, I'm KBHD here, and welcome to the Smartphone Awards 2017. So the way we do it here, there were a lot of phones released over the course of this year from different manufacturers, in different styles, in different price ranges, with different features, all kinds of stuff like that. So this show is the best way to figure out the best of what's come out in the last 12 months. So the way we do it here is I'm going to declare in each category a winner. And then also, if there are some other good ones, I can declare a second place, sort of a runner-up, which is also really good in that category, and then maybe some honorable mentions. Every single phone on this desk was released during 2017. That hasn't always been true about this show, but that's true this year. You can check me on that. So there's a lot to choose from, so let's get started. So category number 1 is Best Big Phone. So phones keep getting bigger every year. There's almost no way around that, even with the shrinking bezels. And I'm a big phone person, not gonna lie. If there's a regular version and a plus version of a phone, I'm taking the plus. I'm taking the XL or the bigger one. And so these are gonna be the best phones that take the most advantage of having a large amount of space. So big display, big battery, big features, etc. And the winner for that category for 2017 is gonna be the Samsung Galaxy Note 8. The Note 8 does it all, and it's been a kind of a staple big phone for a while in their lineup. The biggest reason I usually want a big phone is for a big screen. Note 8 has that. It's the best display on any phone. It has a pretty big battery. It has big optically stabilized dual cameras. It has a big stylus for those who are into that, big specs, and of course, big software features to take advantage of being such a large phone. I still remember when the first Galaxy Note came out, like the first two were such a staple in like the tech on YouTube community, because that was like the phone that had everything. You would take that phone to CES because it had the longest battery life and a replaceable battery. This is still that slight step above Galaxy S8 in their lineup. It kind of always will be that way, and holds a special place in my heart for that reason. But there is a runner-up, and that came from actually a pretty new player in the space. It's as new as you can get. They exist in the space for the first time this year, and they happen to do a really good job of taking advantage of so much space in a phone, and that's the Razer phone. The Razer phone is an awesome use of being big. In a world of these super thin bezels, this phone is bigger than normal, and shamelessly so. It keeps the huge bezels, and inside them it fits these huge speakers, which are pretty much best in class, and it also happens to have a huge 4,000 milliamp hour battery. It doesn't have quite as many, big screen features as, say, a Samsung phone. It doesn't have as much split screen multitasking fun. It doesn't have a stylus and all that stuff, but it's just a good use of space in the hardware department for being such a big phone. I really like it. So the next category is Best Compact Phone. And this is a rare breed, not gonna lie. Like, the compact flagship smartphone is much less popular just because phones are still getting that much bigger. So the definition of a compact phone has changed, in size especially, but for me the definition is still gonna be one that keeps as many flagship features as possible in a small package. And so for that reason, the winner of this category is iPhone 8. iPhone 8 is a legit flagship to a lot of people. It has all the highest end specs and almost every single feature of the iPhone 8 Plus, except for the dual cameras, and it's in the smallest package. So it's easily the most compact. If you're a small hands person, you want the lightest, smallest device possible, iPhone 8 is gonna do that for you. It kinda got overshadowed by the slightly bigger iPhone 10 and the even bigger iPhone 8 Plus, but if you're looking for obviously a great camera, a pretty solid IPS display, if you're still into the fingerprint reader on the front, Touch ID is still extremely fast. I mean, this thing is complete, so that's getting the best compact smartphone. But if you're looking for a runner-up in that category, I think it's a no-brainer to give that to a slightly bigger phone, but still one that keeps all the flagship features of its big brother, and that would be the Pixel 2. If your biggest complaint is that you don't get the better camera of the iPhone 8 Plus on the iPhone 8, Pixel 2 has the exact same camera as Pixel 2 XL. It's a little bit boxier and has a little bit bigger bezels, but you still get front-facing speakers, you still get a great display, and you still get all the same specs and features as you do on the bigger phone. So this is another smaller version of a phone that does all the same things as its bigger brother. It might even have a better screen than the XL. Also, another honorable mention shout out to the Galaxy S8 for being by far the best designed compact phone. The S8 Plus is its bigger brother, but you still get the infinity display and of course all the same specs as the S8 Plus in this smaller phone. So again, if you're into smaller phones, all the features of the bigger brother will come from those. So the next category is best camera. This was a good one this year. Obviously, everyone here on this desk has a camera on the back, and most people take most of the photos in their life with their smartphone camera. And the winner for this year, this category, actually took such good photos and videos that it spoiled me to the point where I didn't want to use some other phones this year because the cameras just didn't stack up. It was that good. They've always been good, but this year it was particularly great. The winner for best camera in a smartphone is Google Pixel 2. This was a pretty easy one for me. The photos and videos from this guy, but particularly the photos, are ridiculous from Pixel 2 and Pixel 2 XL. Awesome detail, dynamic range, sharpness, fast focus, image stabilization, low light performance. It's pretty much great at everything, and it's just super easy to use. And on top of all of that, the portrait mode is incredible with one camera. So again, it does the same thing in the Pixel 2 and 2 XL. I'm gonna link all the reviews of all the phones I talk about in the description below that like button, so if you wanna see all the sample photos and hear me rave in detail about each one, then you can check that out. But for now, just know that Pixel 2 takes the best photos you can get on a smartphone. My runner-up is one that I think actually does better video, just because 240 frames per second, slow motion, high quality 1080p video is severely underrated. And that comes from the dual optically image stabilized camera wielding iPhone 10. Not a lot of cameras are capable of what this thing is in the video department, and it fits in your pocket, which is awesome. But I think most importantly, despite its exposure problems, iPhone 10 photos have the best colors. Like if I could combine the Pixel 2's image processing and dynamic range and portrait mode and sharpness and detail and all of that with the iPhone's colors, I totally would. So the next one is best budget phone. So this is gonna be the one that gives you the most smartphone for the least amount of money. That's what it's all about. You can ask people, everyone has a different definition of budget. If you say, what's the best cheap phone? Cheap means something different to everyone. But either way you look at it, this winner has the best smartphone bang for the buck, the most phone for the least money, and that one is the OnePlus 5T. And that's because for the price, this thing really is a flagship. From the design, the all-metal build, the thin bezels, the dual cameras, the high-end specs, 8 gigs of RAM, it's not skimping anywhere. It even keeps the headphone jack. But in a year where we've seen phones costing $700, $800, $900, even $1,000, the OnePlus 5T does almost everything they all do, and it starts at $499. That is serious bang for the buck, and that's why it wins the award this year. Now, a lot of people might be thinking, wait a second, $500 isn't quite what I would consider budget, and I agree, again, cheap is different for everyone, so I'll give my runner-up to Moto G5 Plus, which is still the best phone you could get under $300. In fact, it's probably closer to $200 now. We reviewed it so long ago, earlier this year, but it's still the best bang for the buck under that price range, and I'll also give an honorable mention to Huawei Honor 7X. All these phones are doing great things for the money, and I'll repeat what I have said before. Good phones are getting cheap, well, not so much, we still get $1,000 flagships, but cheap phones are getting really good. So the next category is best battery life. This one's pretty simple, right? We just look for the ones that have the longest lasting battery that will last an entire day. Us heavy users look for long screen on time, and we look for being able to take it off the charger early in the morning and not touch it again until late that night with no issues. And the winner for that category has been the Razer phone. So another award for the newcomer in 2017, Razer phone made a great use of that space, that big chassis and that huge inside. They put a 4,000 milliamp hour battery in here, and it showed. It lasts a really long time. They built this phone around gaming, so a lot of their decisions were around gaming. 8 gigs of RAM, because it'll make gaming better. Big speakers, because it'll make gaming better. Huge battery, because gaming is really battery intensive. But a lot of those things just make a better phone. So if you're not gaming all the time, Razer phone still has a huge battery, which means it lasts almost forever. So that's why it won the award this year. I'll leave the full review link below if you want to check that out, but I'll also give some runner-ups, or sort of an honorable mention to 2 phones that lasted a really long time. One is Pixel 2 XL. The OLED display, stock Android, and huge battery did great for it. Lasted all day for me, pretty much every time. And also, my iPhone 8 Plus is still the king of standby time. It's a huge battery and a smaller display because of those big old bezels, but that just means it lasts you all day, and if you use an iPhone, you kind of know already this thing is really good. So this next category is my design award, and this is one that's actually kind of evolved over the years, because it used to just be the one that had the craziest design. It used to be the best built phone. This year in 2017, it's going to be the one that I think has the best combo of design and build. And that's gonna go to another newcomer for this year, and it's the Essential phone. This was one of my favorite and most polarizing phones of the year. I really couldn't recommend it because when it first came out, it fell short in a couple other categories like the camera and battery life for the price they were trying to charge. But now that they've dropped the price so much, I really think this is one of the best looking phones to come out, and it's worth the price again. It's a ceramic back, titanium sides, and there's all different ways to handle super thin bezels, but this notch really grew on me, and when you actually look back at using the phone, I got used to it really quick. I liked it a lot, and I think overall this wins the design award. So now that I've ruffled your feathers with the notch, I do have some runner-ups also, and I'm gonna give that to the iPhone 10, again, for getting rid of the home button. The iPhone had huge forehead and chin bezels for so long that even if there is a notch, I again got used to it really quickly, and I think getting rid of the home button was a major step for it, so that gets the runner-up award. And I'll also give it to Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus. The super clean design from the review you've already seen, but the overhanging glass on each side, it's not everybody's favorite because of the curved edges and some potential accidental screen touches, but I think it's super clean, and it's hard to argue with just how good it looks being this glass sandwich and this super sleek design. So that's my design award. So this next award is for the biggest bust of the year. There's a bust every year. I hate giving out this award because you want to be positive and you want to focus on the best of the best because there's so much good, but some just stick out like a sore thumb and just are not a good use of space for some particular reason. So the bust of the year for 2017, as you probably saw coming, is the HTC U Ultra. Yeah, no, this one takes the cake. Worst phone of the year for 2017. Just not a lot good to say about this one. I don't want to spend a ton of time on it. If you watch the review on it or if you've seen the title, you know exactly how I feel. So I don't want to spend a ton of time on that. But if we move on quickly to the next award, to chill out the HTC Elevate comments section, this is the biggest comeback of the year. It's the most improved player. It's just sometimes you have to fall down hard to take your next biggest step up, and I think that's exactly what HTC did this year, because then HTC U11 came out and it turned out to be great. Yeah, this thing had a lot more going for it. It has obviously the sweet color changing back, which I'm a big fan of, but just generally was a really good phone. Had a much better camera. It didn't add a headphone jack, but it had speakers, had a really nice display, and a nice software experience from HTC. And these phones would also introduce us to that squeeze feature with the pressure-sensitive sides to launch something that we would later see in the Pixel 2 and 2 XL. So that was really cool to see. And then even later in this year, HTC came out with the HTC U11 Plus, which I don't have because it never came to the US, but that was an even more complete, more impressive phone. That thing had an even better camera. It had an even better design with the see-through back that I think looked really cool. So yeah, HTC's year kind of went something like that, but then had a thing like that. They kind of had Comeback Player of the Year written on their forehead from the beginning. And so that brings us to the MVP, the finale, the best phone of the year to come out in 2017. And there can only be one, but there were so many great phones that came out over the past 365 days. You know, Pixel 2 had its highlights, LG V30, probably the most underrated. We had OnePlus 5T doing big things for low prices. Even Huawei Mate 10 Pro flying under the radar, iPhone 10 making waves. So many big new phone names coming out, Razer phone, Essential phone, stuff we didn't expect to see. But there's only one MVP. There's only one most complete phone of the year. And my winner for that is the Samsung Galaxy Note 8. This is actually the most complete smartphone that came out this year. Honestly, the biggest problem I have with this design, I know there's a lot of glass phones out right now, is the placement of the fingerprint reader, and that is a nitpick for a lot of people. Everything else about this, it's waterproof, it keeps the headphone jack, it has a stylus, it has a huge battery, it has great software experience, it has the best screen on any phone. It has dual cameras, both optically image stabilized. It has big specs, lots of RAM, fast processor, loud cameras, expandable storage. Did I mention it's water resistant already? I mean, this thing is super complete. It is expensive, and I think a lot of people have trouble spending $1,000 on a phone, but if you were to, you would want it to be as complete as the Note 8, so I actually don't have a problem with its price. This probably could have also technically won Comeback Player of the Year, considering what happened to the Galaxy Note 7, which was Bust of the Year for exploding in everyone's pockets. With the bezels this thin and the overall design, it's kind of what a lot of people are looking up to. Again, if Samsung could move that fingerprint reader down a little bit, I'd be really happy, but Galaxy Note 8 is the MVP. And I have some runner-ups too. My first runner-up for MVP is gonna be the Pixel 2 XL. This phone, again, also has a lot going for it. It has the best camera in any phone. In my experience, it has the best software and the fastest updates, of course, already to Android 8.1. The fingerprint reader's in the right place. It doesn't have the headphone jack, but it has great front-facing speakers. The display on the XL is probably the only one that really kept it holding back, but this is the phone that I have used for the longest time this year that my SIM card has been in as my daily driver for a couple of months. I keep coming back to it. So that's why I give the first runner-up to the Pixel 2. And then my honorable mention is gonna go to iPhone 10, just for finally shifting what it means to be an iPhone. Because honestly, being an iPhone in my mind before this thing came out meant not having modern design and not having thin bezels on the top or the bottom. And this changes that. This has a modern design and thin bezels. Now, it's also paved the way for a bunch of other $1,000 phones to come out now that this is so damn expensive. But I like that it's paved the way for future iPhones to also be modern and clean and admirable in the design department the way they haven't been. So that's a good start. So that's it. That's the best of what's come out this year in 2017. Not a bad year, if you ask me, as far as what came out. And whether you're a person that has, you know, a preference for low budget phones, or if you like big phones or compact phones, or if you need an all-day battery, whatever you're into, whatever you need from a smartphone, you can probably get it, and you'd be hard-pressed going wrong with something on this table right now. Smartphone cameras got so good that I'm more encouraged than ever to take photos with my Pixel 2. The displays got so amazing. Galaxy Note 8 looks like a freaking movie theater if you're looking at it in the dark. Like, there's so many good things to focus on that it's just fun to look back at this stuff that came out over the year, and that's part of why this series is so fun. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you got someone you know that's looking to buy a phone around this holiday season, you should probably send them this video. But until then, until the next one, thank you for watching. Talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.
Come on, buddy.
Hey, what's your name?
Siri, pleased to meet you.
My name is Alexa.
Did I forget to introduce myself? I'm your Google Assistant. Hi.
Bixby. I like my name.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Marquez, MKBHD here, and this is the comparison of, or the battle of, the smartphone voice assistants. So last time this was a two-way comparison. This was between Google Assistant and Siri, which made sense. This time it's a four-horse race, so I'm using what I believe to be the 4 most frequently used voice assistants right now. So the first is Google Assistant on the latest version of Android, pretty much the standard. Then there's Siri, which has gotten a lot of improvements on iOS 11, so that's a new update. Then Amazon Alexa, which is in a smartphone form now on the awesome Solar Red HTC U11. And then Bixby Voice, which is now live on a bunch of Galaxy S8s in a new update, and will also probably be on the Galaxy Note 8. So I wanted to put them all on an even playing field. We gave them all the latest software updates. We gave them all the exact same questions and phrasing, and we gave them all the exact same Wi-Fi connections. So to minimize variables, this is a direct comparison. So this first round is a test of purely factual questions, so it's things you could search for, but we'll get an answer back from the voice assistant for, and it shouldn't get all that much wrong. It should be pretty easy picking, so let's see how they do. What's the weather?
Currently in Kearney, it's 82 degrees Fahrenheit and sunny.
20 times 15 minus 8.
The answer is 292.
When does the Home Depot close?
There are a few the Home Depot locations.
What's Tesla's stock price?
The price for Tesla shares is $348.
What's the height of the Empire State Building?
The Empire State Building is 1,250 feet tall.
How far is it to the moon?
The moon is 238,900 miles from Earth.
What's the weather?
In Kearney, it's 79 degrees with partly sunny skies.
What's 20 times 15 minus 8?
20 times 15 minus 8 is equal to 292.
When does the Home Depot close?
The Home Depot on Route 440 is open from now until 10 p.m.
What's Tesla's stock price?
I don't know that one.
How tall is the Empire State Building?
The Empire State Building's height is 1,250 feet, 381 meters.
How far is it to the moon?
The moon's distance is 239,000 miles, 384,000 kilometers.
What's the weather?
It's 83 with lots of sunshine today.
What's 20 times 15 minus 8?
The answer is 200.
What time does the Home Depot close? What's Tesla's stock price?
According to Wikipedia, Tesla, Inc. is an American automaker, energy storage company.
How tall is the Empire State Building?
The Empire State Building is 1,250 feet tall.
How far is it to the moon?
Whatever the price, I'm sure it's out of my budget.
What's the weather?
Okay, here's the weather for today.
What's 20 times 15 minus 8?
292.
When does the Home Depot close?
I found 15 places named the Home services at the Home Depot on State Route 440, Jersey City is open today from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m.
What's Tesla's stock price?
Tesla is up $21.61 today.
How tall is the Empire State Building?
Empire State Building is 1,250 feet tall.
How far is it to the moon?
The distance from the Earth to the Moon is about 251,413 miles.
So now that we have that as a baseline, we use these next tests as specialty tests to really dig in to see how much better each one is at its specialty than the rest. So this next set is on conversation. So you'd expect Google and probably Siri to do pretty well with this one. This is something Google's talked about a lot, like at Google I/O. Should be easy to talk to. You don't have to act like a robot to get it to answer your questions. Let's see how they do. Who's the 44th President of the United States?
Barack Obama was the 44th President of the United States.
How tall is he?
He's 6 feet 1 inch tall.
Who won the NBA championship?
The NBA Finals was won by the Golden State Warriors.
Who's their point guard?
Stephen Curry and Sean Livingston are point guards for Golden State Warriors.
How tall is he?
Stephen Curry is 6 feet 3 inches tall.
What is the capital of Nepal?
Kathmandu is the capital of Nepal.
What time is it there?
The time in Kathmandu, Nepal is 9:38 p.m.
What's the population?
The population of Kathmandu was 1.003 million in 2011.
Who's the 44th President of the United States?
The 44th U.S. President was Barack Obama.
How tall is he?
Barack Obama's height is 6 feet and 1 inch, 185 centimeters.
Who won the NBA championship?
The NBA Finals winner is Golden State Warriors.
Who's their point guard?
Sorry, I don't know that.
How tall is he?
Barack Obama's height is 6 feet and 1 inch, 185 centimeters.
What is the capital of Nepal?
Nepal's capital city is Kathmandu.
What time is it there?
The time in Kathmandu is 9:40 p.m.
What's the population?
The population of Jersey City, New Jersey is about 248,000.
Who is the 44th President of the United States?
Barack Obama was the 44th President of the United States.
How tall is he? Who won the NBA championship?
The NBA Finals was won by the Golden State Warriors.
Who's their point guard? How tall is he?
I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot.
5 feet 4 inches tall. I'm 5 feet 11 inches tall. He's 6'1".
What is the capital of Nepal?
Kathmandu is the capital of Nepal.
What time is it there?
Alright, it's 12 o'clock p.m.
What's the population? Who was the 44th President of the United States?
The answer is Barack Obama from January 20th, 2009 to January 20th, 2017.
How tall is he?
What would you like me to find, Marcus?
How tall is Barack Obama?
Barack Obama is 6 feet 1 inch tall.
Who won the NBA championship?
The Warriors won the NBA Finals 4-1 over the Cavaliers. They won the last game 129-120.
Who is their point guard?
Okay, I found this.
Video?
How tall is he?
Barack Obama is 6 feet 1 inch tall.
What is the capital of Nepal?
Kathmandu is the capital of Nepal.
Uh-oh.
What time is it there?
The time is 12:03 p.m.
What's the population?
It's human population.
So there's some pretty interesting results down the board.
combination. A little crazy, little sexy, little cool. Little rough around the edges, but I keep it smooth. I'm always left to center, and it's right where I belong. I'm the random mind, and don't you hear in major songs? And I like that. I don't really give a fuck if I was just the only one who likes that. I never like to follow around the chase the sun. Oh me, oh me, oh me, oh my. Oh me, oh me, oh me, oh my. Oh me, oh me, oh me, oh my. I like that. I don't care what I look like, but I feel good. Better than amazing and better than I could. Told the whole world I'm the venom and the antidote. Take a different type of girl to keep the whole world afloat. Cause I'm crazy and I'm sexy and I'm cool. Little rough around the edges, but I keep it smooth. I'm always left the center, and that's right where I belong. I'm the random mind, and don't you hear in major songs? And I like that. I don't really give a fuck if I was just the only one who likes that. I never like to follow around the chase the sun. Oh me, oh me, oh me, oh my. Oh me, oh me, oh me, oh my. Oh me, oh me, oh me, oh my. I like that.
I remember when you called me weird. We was in math class, 3rd row. I was sitting by you, right before Mr. Ammons' class. Cause my mama couldn't afford new J's Polo, thrift store, thrift clothes. That was all I knew. Do you remember? I remember when you laughed when I cut my perm off and you rated me a 6. I was like, damn. But even back then, with the tears in my eyes, I always knew I was the shit. I like that.
I don't really give a fuck if I was just the only one who likes that. I never like to follow around the chase the sun. Oh me, oh me, oh me, oh my. Oh me, oh me, oh me, oh my. Oh me, oh me, oh me, oh my. I like that. I like that. Got the lips around your maybe pink like the skin that's under. Baby pink where it's deepest inside. Crazy pink beyond forest and ice. Pink like the secrets you hide. Maybe pink like the lid of your eye. Baby pink is where all of it starts. Crazy pink like the holes of your heart. So here we are in the car, leaving traces of us down the boulevard. I wanna fall through the stars, getting lost in the dark is my favorite part. Let's count the ways we could make this last forever. Sunny, money, keep it funky, touch your top and let it down. Yeah, something like that. Something like that. Yeah, cause boy it's cool if you got blue. We got the pink. Something like that. Cause boy it's cool if you got blue. We got the pink. Pink like the inside of your baby. Pink like the forces of maybe pink like your fingers in mine. Maybe pink is the truth you can't hide. Pink like your tongue going round. Baby pink like the sun going down. Maybe pink like the holes in your heart. Baby pink is my favorite part.
She my number one, I don't need nothing on the side. Said that I was done for good and don't want no more lies. But my phone be blowing up, temptations on my line. I stare at the screen a while before I press decline. But she plants a seed and it still lingers in my mind. Told myself I'm strong enough to shake it and I'm trying. But I'm only human, I know loving you's a crime. If I take this cookie now, one day I'll do the time. Slip me a Xanny at once. I got the earth and the blunt. I get the skirt when I want. I get the skirt when I want. Due to the money aroma, my girl, she got a diploma. She got white written all over. She got white written all over. All a nigga know is how to fuck a good thing up. Run from the pain, sip lean, smoke tree up. When I'm in your town, press pound, hit me up. When I'm in your town, press pound, hit me up. Only if you down and you slurp good D up. If the work good, I'll be back for the re-up. Hate when I creep in the phone, wake me up. Fake like I'm sleep, knowing damn well I be up. Monkey on my back and I walk 100 miles. Guilt make a nigga feel fake when he smile. Love get confused in the mind of a child. Cause love wouldn't lie like I lie and it's wild. Wanna have my cake and another cake too. Even if the baker don't make like you. Even when the flavor don't taste like you. So I'm back mobbing with the late night crew.
The Kevin Hart situation.
Oh my God.
Everybody's talking about it and we want to hear from you. We're talking about this all day.
Oh, yeah,
all in your mind with fears that would come true. Back in my mind, the back of my mind was you. Wishing that I could blind myself from view. And only have eyes for you. Slip me a Xanny at once. I got the earth and the blunt. I get the skirt when I want. I get the skirt when I want. Due to the money aroma, my girl, she got a diploma. She got white written all over. She got white written all over. I'm a fake nigga and it's never been clearer. Can't see myself when I look in the mirror. Can't see myself when I look in the mirror. Can't see myself when I look in the mirror. I'm a fake nigga and it's never been clearer. Can't see myself when I look in the mirror. Can't see myself when I look in the mirror. Can't see myself when I look in the mirror. She my number one, I don't need nothing on the side. Said that I was done for good and don't want no more lies. But my phone be blowing up, temptations on my line. I stare at the screen a while before I press decline. But she plants a seed and it still lingers in my mind. Told myself I'm strong enough to shake it and I'm trying. But I'm only human, I know loving you's a crime. If I take this cookie now, one day I'll do the time. I love her, I don't wanna lose her. I'm selfish, I know that I use her. My ego gets stroked and I bruise her. My ego gets stroked and I bruise her. My actions, I know they confuse her. At home I look happy as usual. On the road I'm a Mac, I'm a chooser. I'm an addict, I'm masking it. Kevin's hard.
We're getting better.
Yo, Kev.
What, man?
Hey, man, look, nobody's perfect. And you're only human. Just learn from it. You know what I'm saying?
He didn't wash his hands. I got dick hands on my jacket now.
They tell me what's done in the dark will find a way to shine. I done did so much that when you see you might go blind. What's done in the dark will always find a way to shine. I done did so much that when you see you might go blind.
Probably should have measured first.
Will I fall? Will I fly? Heal my soul.
Good enough. Pretty darn good for my random
And hope to die with my slice of devil's spine.
Count it up, count it up, count it up, count it, count it up, count it up, count it up, count it, count it up, count it up, count it up, count it. Count it up, count it up, count it up, count it, count it up, count it up, count it up, count it, count it up, count it up, count it up, count it. I know that it's difficult. I'm stacking this paper, it's sort of habitual. I blow the residual and fucking your bitch like it's part of my ritual. Part of the visual, but money you give me a heart on a typical. I wanted it physical. $1 million I count up in intervals. Without it I'm miserable. Don't wanna fall off, so I'm all in my bag. Thinking God like it's biblical. I know it's gonna solve every problem I have. I bought on the principle. Remember the teachers was all on my ass. Now look all of them pitiful. And all of a sudden I'm so good at math. Count it up, count it up, count it up, count it, count it up, count it up, count it up. Count it, count it up, count it up, count it up, count it. Can't take it when you die, but you can't live without it. Count it up, count it up, count it up, count it, count it up, count it up, count it up, count it, count it up, count it up, count it up, count it. Can't take it when you die. Uno, dos, tres. Big bills, big bills. I fell in love with big wheels and quick thrills. My niggas running tip drills. Can't sit still. Don't give a fuck if it kills. It mixed well. I'm only counting big bills, big bills. I fell in love with big wheels and quick thrills. My niggas running tip drills. Can't sit still. Don't give a fuck if it kills. It mixed well. I'm only counting. Will I fall? Will I die? Heal my soul, fulfill my high, cross my heart, and hope to die with my slice of devil's pie. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro. Proceed with caution. I heard if you take it, it only exhaustion. A hole in your heart, fuck it, I take the whole picture, I won't leave a portion. It's only an organ. Thank God mama couldn't afford the abortion. The loneliest orphan. I flip my misfortune and grow me a fortune. My rollie is scorching. Them niggas that hated is slowly endorsing. Not coldly important. My niggas beside me like Tommy and Martin. We ballin' your courtin'. Then skate with your bitch like we turning your heart in. She don't need the garments. She horny from all of the money we countin'. Count it up, count it up, count it up, count it, count it up, count it up. Count it up, count it, count it up, count it up, count it up, count it. Can't take it when you die, but you can't live without it. Count it up, count it up, count it up, count it, count it up, count it up, count it up, count it, count it up, count it up, count it up, count it. Can't take it when you die. Big bills, big bills. I fell in love with big wheels and quick thrills. My niggas running tip drills. Can't sit still. Don't give a fuck if it kills. It mixed well. I'm only counting big bills, big bills. I fell in love with big wheels and quick thrills. My niggas running tip drills. Can't sit still. Don't give a fuck if it kills. It mixed well. I'm only counting. Will I fall? Will I cross my heart and hope to die with my slice of devil's pie.
Sector clearance. Prepare for original scan.
Oh my god. Made a mess.
Down dog. Don't think about it. Down dog. Don't think about it. Down dog. You're number one. And don't you dare. Down dog. Don't think about it. Down dog.
You told us we hold these truths to be self-evident. That all men and women are created equal.
This is one of the worst ideas
in the world. Endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Young, black, wild, and free. Naked in a limousine. Ride through the hood real slow. I love it when I smell the trees. I just wanna party hard. Sex in a swimming pool. I don't need a lot. So if the world should end tonight, I had a crazy classic handcuffed in a bando, white boy in his sandals, police like a Rambo, blow it out like a candle, Sambo. Me and you was friends, but to them we the opposite. The same mistake, I'm in jail, you on top of shit. You living life while I'm walking around mopping shit. Tech kid, backpack, no you a college kid. All I wanted was to break the rules like you. All I wanted was for them to love me too. But no matter where it was, I always stood out. Black Waldo, dancing with the thick brows. We was both running naked at the luau. We was both on shrooms, praying face down, waist down. Remember when they told you I was too black for you? And now my black popping like a bra strap on you. I was kicked out, said I'm too loud. Kicked out, said I'm too proud. But all I really ever felt was stressed out. Kinda like my afro when it's pressed out.
Good morning, Jane. Jane? My name is Mary Apple 53. I'm here to escort you from the darkness into the light. You won't be able to move your legs for a while. I didn't think I was ever gonna see you again. Did they hurt you? Is it okay if I call you Jane? What? It's what we have in your file, right? Yeah. If there's anything else you'd rather be called, you just let me know. I'm here to make your experience as sweet as pie. Why are you talking to me like you don't know me? Like I said, my name is Mary Apple 53, and I don't know you. At least not yet. But what I do know is that you have some bugs. So we are here to get you clean. We'll be with you shortly.
Love, maybe it never ends. Ooh, say your goodbye.
My name is Jane, 57821.
I am a dirty computer.
I am a dirty computer.
I am ready to be cleaned.
I'm ready to be cleaned.
I am a dirty computer. I am ready to be cleaned. Ready for cleaning.
I'm ready to be cleaned.
She's ready for cleaning.
I heard her actually, but which?
Well,
which memory exactly?
any memory you see, trash them and bag them.
Yes, trash and bag. Okay.
Ready for cleaning.
She's ready for cleaning.
I heard her actually, but which?
Well,
which memory exactly?
I live my life on a TV screen.